Hello and welcome back to this walkthrough of the KSP Career in 1.0. My name's Negative Roots and let's get cracking. Today we're going to achieve the Flyby Duna mission. So here we are, we're in Kerbin, or on Kerbin, and there's Duna. Now Duna obviously is further out from than Kerbin, and we need to transfer it. Now there's the thing about interplanetary transfers is they're not like transfers around kind of the Kerbin. For example, if we want to go from one orbit to another, we just accelerate and get an intercept. Now, the thing about it, when you actually have to transfer between two different bodies, you have to remember that you're orbiting around something else, so it changes it a little bit. So naturally, if we're going to achieve this Flyby Duna mission, we're not actually going to go to Duna first. I have got a little craft in orbit around the moon, and I've called it, I'll just get rid of these two, if the game would let me. If the game will let me. Excellent. And I've called it the Duna Transfer Trainer. Now what this is going to do is this is going to replicate basically the same thing that's going to happen anytime we want to go from Kerbin to a planet that's outside us. So if we, whoops, wrong button. So if we want to go from Kerbin to Duna, to Drez, to Jewel, or to Elu, the basic principles are the same. So let's get going. So basically what we want to do is we want to create a transfer to go from the moon to Minmus. Okay, because this is the same thing as what we're going to do, just on a smaller scale. Just imagine Kerbin's the sun, the moon is Kerbin, and Minmus is Duna. Okay, we're going from one planet to another. This is the same thing, okay? So this is going to hopefully teach us how to basically do it. Now, what I want to do is I want to leave the planet on the same orbital line. That's the most efficient way of doing it. Now, let's bring up some stuff and see if we can start to tweak it. Now this, we're going to need to be extremely sensitive, because if you go too far you'll shoot out of the sphere of influence. Now you can see that we've got our escape, which is great. Okay, so now what we want to do is set this as a target. Now you can see that we're missing quite considerably, but that's okay, because what we can do is we can adjust our transfer a little bit. Whoops, wrong way. And try and get it down on the horizon. Now the thing about Minmus is that it's a on an inclined orbit. Okay, there we go. So now we've got a closer approach. We'll be 6,000 kilometers away when we get there. That's actually pretty good, and that's going to happen in 19 minutes. Now sometimes what you'll need to do is you will need to wait in orbit. So wait, and you can see how this is actually going to change things, because all of a sudden I'm not leaving the sphere of influence of Kerbin. Righty. Just bring that back a little bit. Okay, so what I'm aiming for, right, is just a close approach. So 8,000 kilometers isn't very good, but it's probably as close as we're going to get. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to make a correction at the AN, because obviously there's a plane change needed. Okay. So there we go. So we've got that leveled out. Now that's the target position. So what I'm going to have to do is burn a little bit radial. See if I can catch up to the planet. Now this obviously isn't very efficient, but it's trying to just show you how to get an encounter when moving outwards. So we've got our maneuver 1. It's going to cost us 191, and this is going to cost us 85. So not very efficient, but it's just showing you how it works. So we have we're here. Let's warp. Now, burn itself, it won't take too long. The thing about interplanetary transfers is you need to do a mid-course correction. Trying to hit it on the nose from the first one is arguably not a good idea. Now what I'll do is I'll just quick save here. I've got a couple of minutes before it comes along, so I'll get down to 1 minute. Okay. Let's get it on the node, and let's go. We'll see how close we can get this burn. Pretty damn close. Okay, so now you can see what our orbit is, what we're going to try and make it. And see that we're going to have to do a pretty big plane change. So I'll just delete this. At the AN, I'll add the actual maneuver now. Okay, so we've got a close approach of 5,000. And it's actually better than what it was before. So what we could do here, right, is just grab the periapsis. I'm going to demonstrate all this for Duna as well. Oh, there it was. Just see if we can get that down a bit. 100,000 Ks would be nice. Yep, that'll do. Okay, so we've got our transfer. We'll do our mid-course correction as well to the maneuver node. Now the thing about it is, often you can't brute force the approach like this. So what you need to do is be able to wait until there is actually a window, because right now we're pretty close and I can do a lot of this duking around, even though the planet wasn't quite in the right spot for me. What we need to do with the bigger transfers is we need to basically get it so that it's in exactly the right spot for us. So when we do the burn, we don't have to do quite so much adjustment. You know, the correction might be 20 meters per second. This kind of correction over this kind of range is quite big actually. But I'm just trying to show you how the process works on a smaller scale before we try it with Duna. Okay, put on the maneuver node. Alright, we can get rid of you. Heading in the right direction and stop a little bit further. Okay, there we go. So we've got our encounter. So we're about to go from Minmus round to from the moon to Minmus. So obviously now that we're here, we can circularize and do all of that good stuff. So that's how you do it. Let me just quick load, because I want to show you something else. I spoke briefly about transfer windows. There's a transfer window coming up in 158 days. In Kerbal Alarm Clock, it can work it all out for you. So if we go for a transfer window, right, we can set it to the sun. We can go from being Kerbin to Moho or to Eve or Duna, wherever it might be. This will work it out for us. Now, the other thing you can do, right, is if we go from Kerbin, we can work out a transfer from the moon to Minmus. Okay, so there's one coming up in 3 hours' time. And what I'll do is I'll give myself 15 minutes. Yep, 15 minutes warning. And I'll just close that. We'll close that as well. And I'll show you what happens when you actually wait the appropriate time. Okay, so now what we need to do is set up the maneuver. We'll just close you. Okay, warp is off, good. Okay, so you see now, this time around, we're going to smack the planet right at the DN. What that means is that we're not going to have to do a plane change. You see how our orbit is going to loop around and it's going to intersect that orbit as it goes. So you can see that waiting for that transfer window is so important. You know, I brute force the approach. This time it's going to cost us nothing, and I can still do a mid-course correction out here somewhere, and then fine-tune my periapsis down to whatever I want it to be. So, you know, basically save some big delta V this way. So let's move on to the Duna mission. Switch to, and these transfer windows crop up periodically. I'll show you quickly. If I go to transfer window, go to the sun, go to Kerbin, go to Eve. Okay, there's one in 1 year time. If I go transfer window Kerbin out to Jewel, there's a one in 118 days actually. There's one before the Duna window. If I go from Kerbin to Elu, you know, they just crop up every now and again, and you've got to work your missions around them. So what I'll do is I'll just delete that one. So this has got the window I want 10 minutes before. So hopefully that'll put my craft in the right spot. I will actually jump back to the Space Center so I can do this warp at a respectable time. And we'll get this Flyby Duna mission done. Obviously, interplanetary transfers are a little bit more complicated than anything else we've done before. And it's easy to miss, but it's also easy to hit them. So, you've got to find that practice, quick loads, quick saves, all very important. Okay, let's go. Apologies to the epileptics in the audience, because that is kind of painful. So the window's coming up in 90 days, 80 days. Come on. And this is what you've got to do. When you're going into planetary, you must wait. You've got to be patient. You've got to hit it at the right day. Otherwise, you're just going to miss. Or you're going to cost yourself tons and tons of delta V. So we're nearly there. Sun rises for the final time on the fateful day. Okay. So we need to go out to the ship now. The Duna shot 1. Obviously it's been waiting in orbit now for 158 days, so it's just been chilling, waiting for the optimal moment. Okay, now the rules with interplanetary transfers: if you're going up, you must go along the orbit. If you're going down, you must go backwards along the orbit. So here is our target. Let's set it as our target. Okay. Now there's our orbit line, so we're going to need to set it about here. Because as we pull on it, you'll see that the shoots off in that direction. Now that isn't bad. Could come this way a little bit more. Basically, you want to match that up as closely as possible. Okay. After you've done that, just pull on it until you're, you see we're on the same plane, so that's excellent, and this just becomes a really, really simple maneuver. So we just keep pulling on it, pulling on it, pulling on it until it intersects. Oh. Okay, so I've got it. We've got a close approach. This is going to be the closest approach. That's going to be the target position. So what we'll actually do is go a little bit slower. No, a little bit faster. Oh. Let's just see, right? Because I'm not really happy with how that's sitting. So I'll zoom back. Whoa, 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 whoa. Too far. No. Actually, hang on a minute. So you can see that as I pulled on it, my orbit has gone crazy. So it needs to come back to there. Ah, that's much better. Whoop. And this is a lot of just tweaking and playing around with it. So 230,000 kilometers. Hey, that's not going to intersect. 200. I think this is close. 220. Now, you won't always get a complete encounter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run with that, and I'm going to show you how to do this mid-course correction. Like that's close enough. Obviously, if you know, you were back here and the planet was over here, you're going to have trouble. But getting it close, now we can just do a mid-course correction and get the final encounter. There we go. So we've got 13 minutes. Oops, let's actually set it up to warp to the node. Bring up our fuel. And this just takes a bit of practice. You can see that I've pretty much nailed our exit vector. Like, that is on the money. I'm really, really happy with that. That's probably the best one I've ever done. And what a time to do it in a video while everyone's watching. So, maneuver node, we've got a couple of minutes. I'm thinking 1,000 meter per second burn will take us about 30 seconds, give or take a little bit. Yep, we got it nailed. Excellent. Rightio, so now we just watch our velocity go up and we'll get this transfer done. Now 1,000 meters per second, to put it in context, this will cost you about 850, this will cost you 900, so to go to the moon, to Duna, it's only another 10%, thereabouts, 12% over this one. So if you can build a moon kind of rocket, something that gets to the moon, you can very, very easily build something that gets to Duna. Let's just get rid of that. As you can see right now, the slightest change will boost our apoapsis up massively. It's going to take us 291 days to get there. No, there it is. So there's our closest approach, okay? That's going to happen in 229 days, and we're going to be pretty much on top of the planet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp to here. And generally when you're doing a mid-course correction, you just want to kind of go back a quarter of the orbit. And, you know, when you're intersecting, if that's north, and you're intersecting there, we want to be doing a mid-course correction about here, or if the orbit is inclined, you want to do it at the AN or the DN. Okay, so if you're going to, say, Elu, because of its stupidly inclined orbit, see that, how it goes down, or even Dres is a little bit inclined, I think, and Moho is inclined out the wazoo, you want to be attacking their mid-course corrections at the AN or the DN. But the further back you are, the better off you end up being. So in 10 days' time, we'll perform the maneuver. Nope, that's further away. Nope, that's jumping. Just want to check that we are... Okay. So you can see where we sit and where they sit. This is going to be a rather ugly one. There it is, 150 meters per second, but we get the encounter. What we'll do is we'll take... Right now the periapsis is ridiculous. Oop, there it was. you'll see that it hits a point at which it starts to accelerate again. So it's about 7 million meters. Okay, and now we need to tweak it again. No, that's going up. No, that's going up. Are we coming in inclined or something? We're a little bit. If we jump here, see how we're coming in on a bit of an angle, and that is what 0.1 of a degree will do to you over interplanetary distances. So we just need to burn radial a bit. Whoop, too far, whoop, too far. Now I'd like to do all of this in one burn, if possible. There we go. Now I'm not sure of the aero braking thing around Duna. It'd be an idea to look it up. But I've packed no heat shields, so I'm just going to do this under power. So at 90,000 Ks, I'm happy with that. So let's lock that in. Let's jump back to the Duna shot, warp to the maneuver node, and we'll get this mid-course correction done, and that'll get us the flyby. Now this has been a little bit more complicated and advanced than anything else we've done before, but once you get those basics down, it's pretty straightforward. You know, it's just a lot of tweaking and being patient. I think patience is probably the biggest thing. I know that when I first started doing transfers, I couldn't get them because I wasn't patient enough. I'd continually try and rush things and do things quickly and get it done now, and it just doesn't work. You got to be patient, wait for the right spot to do things, burn in small amounts. So, you know, I'd get to here and then try and go direct to the planet rather than meeting up with it around here and getting all this done in the right spot. Okay. So now you can see where we sit on the orbit. You can see how sensitive it is. No, so that's the wrong way. I just want to pick this up a little bit. Something to keep in mind, if you've got a craft with RCS on it, RCS can muck with your orbits pretty badly. Oh, and we're going to get a night encounter on the way through. How about that? We might actually take that. It's still a bit high. Oh, whatever. Let's warp here. Now, one thing to remember is that if you're finding that your craft, you can't get a nice transfer because it's too sensitive, get closer. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to here when I'm just outside the sphere of influence, and then I'm going to make the corrections that I need to get this down to, you know, the absolute best. And I could have been more precise with my maneuver node, but you know, whatever. So let's go this way, I think. No, that's the wrong way. So you can see now how that 10% throttle doesn't give us quite as much. It's much more controlled. 90,000 meters. There we go. So that is an excellent approach. I'm happy with that. And what we'll do is when we capture in, we'll capture into an orbit that will intersect Ike at some point in the future. So let's go warping. Because we're going to get the mission right. So what I'd like to do is get orbit Duna as well at the same time. There it is. Now, oh, I haven't shown you the craft yet, but that's okay. Because it's basically just a nose cone, probe core, control, RCS control, battery, some solar panels, some fuel tanks, an LV909 and something to send back the data with. So let's have a look here. Let's go with a little bit of a time warp just to get in the sphere of influence, and then we'll jump back to the space center and get the orbit Duna contract as well. There we go, Flyby Duna done. How about that? Pretty straightforward, really. Explore Ike. Okay. Never expires, so we'll take it. Orbit Duna. Here we go. We'll take that. So we've got to get an orbit now. So let's jump back out to the craft and achieve that, and then that will complete this this episode of the walkthrough. And possibly in the next one we'll have a look at let's walk to here. We'll possibly have a look at achieving some of the Ike missions. Time warp completed. Wonderful. Oh, look at that for a picture, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like this needs to be pointed a better direction. Now then, what do we need to do? We need to do a little bit of science while we're here. Log that and transfer that back. Yeah. Looks so cool. I think one thing that we don't do enough of is taking screenshots. So let's get this thing pointed retrograde. Because we're about to hit the burn point. How good is that? There we go. Rightio. So now we're nearly there. Point retrograde. We'll get the orbit sorted. What was the max height? It's about 90,000. Okay, let's add a maneuver. Oh, look at that. Ike, you're right in the way, man. Seriously? Okay, we'll take that because then we're right there and that won't take too much to... Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That way it won't take too much to actually get back out to Ike. What's that going to take us? About 20 seconds? Yeah, about there. Happy days. Go away. So we're bending our orbit around. The great thing about Duna is you can see the orbital velocity is not very high. So coming back to Duna is, or getting back into orbit around Duna is not an issue. At least not most of the time. Just got to make sure you pack enough fuel. So there we go. There's the orbit around Duna. Mission completed. Thank you very much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in the next mission, where I continue this walkthrough of the KSP career.